John Young with the Disc Jockey News, doing the third set of 5 wedding tips. I've got version 1, version 2, and this will now be version 3. Version 3 is going to come from my thoughts from my weddings. I've done a few weddings this spring as I'm getting into the summer season, and I've got a few things I wanted to share with you from those that are some points that were just kind of driven home with different little stories, and I'll kind of give you those as we go along. So let's just jump right into the 5 tips. Tip number 1 is be prepared. This particular spring, I've had a couple of instances where my preparation has saved me. The most glaring was a controller that kind of freaked out on me and was starting to make some kind of cartoon noises in the background. So while you were speaking on the microphone, because this happened during the father of the bride's toast, all of a sudden it sounded like we were having some kind of a cartoon video game going on in the background. And I thought maybe my microphones were picking it up. Maybe it was coming in off one of my CD or the computer channel, one of the 2 channels with that, and CD players. No. It wasn't. It was coming from the board. The board itself was causing this. Now, I prepare for problems with gear by really having backups of everything. So I actually have, these are $1,000 controllers. I have 2 of them with me. I have my backup. And in this particular case, I needed that backup. So what I ended up doing is the father of the bride finished his toast. The microphone went to the father of the groom. I figured out that if I pulled the high EQ down, that made it so it was less noticeable and it didn't really affect his speech. I let him talk. I ran out while he was speaking, which I knew his speech was going to be a couple of moments. So I ran outside quickly, grabbed the other controller, came back in, and then between the time of going from the father's to the head table, I yanked the cables and hooked up what I needed to, so then they had a live microphone. They're really beyond hearing the cartoonesque noise for the one where they could actually hear it. After that, no one knew that I swapped out a board and everything was changed over. Didn't have a problem with that after that, and that second controller now has become my primary, as the secondary one now is on its way to the shop, and I have a less expensive one that's now my backup. But be prepared. Situations like that, being prepared with going over timelines, making sure I have all the tools I need for the event, just spending a little extra time to make sure that you have everything covered. Being prepared is so important to the success of your events. Tip number 2 is don't overpromise and underdeliver. Or really, in my thought, is don't overpromise. This particular spring, with some of the weddings I did, a lot of the other vendors were overpromising what they could do. And in a couple of cases, I knew that they couldn't do the things that they were telling the bride and groom that they were going to be doing for them. But it's not my place to go and say, oh, that's not going to happen that way. That's something the bride and groom will have to find out on their own, because I'm not the one to break that bad news to them. But they did that, and it's disappointing, it's unfortunate, but they did that. And that's something that's really going to, now in the eyes of the bride and groom, kind of give them a sour feeling towards that vendor, because they overpromised and underdelivered. And in both cases that I witnessed, I'm sure that they did this intentionally, because this is kind of how they get business. Not that it was horrible bad, but it was just the little things. And the little things are the things that really stick in the craw of a lot of people. When it's big, they're going to really get upset and argue and stomp their feet. But it's the little things that just are kind of giving that sad, sour feeling that they'll still like, yeah, we did business with them and it was okay. Well, sometimes an okay is almost worse as a referral than someone saying, you know what, they screwed up. Because people can understand a screw up, but an okay, that means that they do okay work. You either want somebody hot or cold, not lukewarm. So don't overpromise and underdeliver. That's a quick way to really ruining your reputation. If anything, you want to underpromise, of course, and overdeliver, and that means that basically assuring them that you're going to do the basics, and you're going to do the basics very well and exceed their expectations in those areas. Specifically, say just the wedding party introduction. You're going to do that in such a professional manner, and you're going to do that in such a practiced, honed way that it's going to stand out as one of the best wedding introductions that the guests have had. It may not be fancy, it may not have audio drops, it may not have stories being told with each person, what have you, but just your articulation and just the way you're able to hit and give the inflection of the voices and such as it's coming in, and the musical notes are being hit at the right time, and you're just doing it all together. Little things are going to make that big. So you could promise that you're going to be making it an incredible thing and deliver that at a level above their expectations, and you're going to go a long way in this industry. The next one is playing nice with other vendors. This is something that I've again witnessed this spring, and again virtually every wedding, is that there's someone who hasn't been playing nice with the other vendors. Thankfully, it wasn't me receiving that not playing nice with me. They were in interaction between the venue and a photo booth, or the lighting company and the venue, or the lighting company and the photographers. Someone just wasn't playing nice with each other. This is the bride's day, and this is the day that we basically need to swallow our pride if we have that issue, kind of tamp down that ego, and we need to be there and work as a team for the success of the bride and groom's day. And I said bride first, well, that's the order in which it is. So going and having those problems and not working as a team is really going to cause a lot of long-term problems. Not only in the referrals, which you probably, if you don't hit it off with the person, you're not going to get referrals anyway. But there's going to be some static. I felt it at these events, and in one particular case, the person who was having some conflict wasn't even there that long, but yet there was that conflict was felt throughout the event, and there's just not a cool thing to have when you have that with weddings. So my recommendation is learn to play well, and if you can't play well, fake it. Tip number 4, keep in mind that you are on stage at all times. We, as the entertainers, yes, we may have a DJ booth off to the side, but people are watching us most of the time. So if you're back there, swigging back a drink or beer, or you're eating behind your booth, or you're back there, picking your nose or scratching yourself, there are people who are watching. Somewhere in that crowd, someone is probably watching you at that moment, unless all the eyes are at the head table when they're doing a toast. You're on stage at all times. If you need to do something, step into a back room. Like most of the venues I work at, there's either a curtain or there's a back room or something. If nothing else, go out of the main room, but don't be drinking behind your system. Don't be eating behind your system. These things just really look tacky. Think of yourself as a performer on a stage for a play. You wouldn't see a performer like a rock and roll show. You're not going to see them up there. Yeah, they may have a drink, water, and that's cool. I think water's fine. But they're not going to be sitting up there unless they're Sammy Hagar pounding hardcore drinks back. They're not going to be eating behind their booth. They're not going to be doing a lot of things. They're not going to be pulling out a handkerchief out of their pocket in front of everybody and just blowing a big loogie in there. No. You're on stage, you're a performer, you need to be upbeat, you need to be smiling, you need to be enjoying yourself. You need to be looking like you're happy to be there, because there's someone looking at you. And if you're looking like you're kind of, or you're tired, or you're yawning, or you're having issues, that's going to carry over to your crowd. So you're on stage. Keep in mind, you're on stage all the time when you're at a wedding. The last one is a basic, and we've talked about some variations of this, is to know your music. You're going to have people coming up and requesting. We all know this. And there's going to be songs where some of them are legit requests, and some of them are going to be songs that are going to be kind of thrown in there as a loop, or to throw someone for a loop. This particular wedding a few weeks ago, one of the main people involved with the wedding, her name was Sue. And a friend of hers came up and requested the song Run Around Sue. Well, of course, knowing what Run Around Sue is about and how that goes, it's not a wedding, wouldn't be my first choice at a wedding, but I have played it at weddings because it is kind of that neat little, they can swing dance to it and have a little fun with it. But in this particular case, knowing that one of the main people in the wedding's name was Sue, I thought there might be more of a story to it because of the age of the person and the feel when they requested it. Well, it turns out that it was indeed a shot at Sue, because when she was in high school, she was that person. Now that she's gotten older, she's become more of a respected person in the community, and this was a way for her friend to really poke at her and really try to bring her down a notch. Now that's a kind of a minor example. There's examples of knowing when songs have profanity, or if a song you're singing that's being played, they're singing about something sexually related, or if they're singing about drugs or alcohol, what have you. You need to know what those songs are that are going to be requested. If you don't, that Google thing's really kind of a cool thing, and you can look up a lot of the songs, see the lyrics, and if there's something there you don't know, you can go to the Urban Dictionary, and that will help you an awful lot with some of these words. Whoa, what does Molly? What is that? I've never heard. This must be singing about some girl named Molly. Yeah, sure, it is. So, know your music. So to recap the 5 tips. First one, be prepared. Always have your gear, always have everything ready to go, because you never know when you're going to need it. Second, don't overpromise and underdeliver. Whatever you do, it's better to underpromise and overdeliver for your future referrals. Tip 3 was play nice with other vendors. If you don't play nice with other vendors, you're not going to have much of a future in this industry. Tip 4 was you're on stage at all times. Look like you're on stage. You're a performer. You're an entertainer. look like one, look like you enjoy being there. And tip 5 was know your music. So you're not going to have unexpected things happen when you're playing songs and turning the crowd against you at the middle of your event. But this is our third version. If you want to check out the first or second version of the 5 wedding tips, I'll put the links in the description below. If you've got some tips that you would like to share with people, I'd love to see those. Put those in the comments down below, because you guys are out there doing a lot of weddings, and guys and gals are doing a lot of weddings, and you're going to see things, and you're going to have things that you've experienced, and I'd love to see some of your tips and ideas. Again, share those in the comments down below. This is John Young with the Disc Jockey News.